Save the Children says the economic consequences of the coronavirus pandemic could lead to a spike in child marriages over the next few years. It estimates that 2.5 million more girls are at risk of early marriage, with the violence and health risks that all too often come with it. Joining me now is Inge Arshing, CEO of Save the Children International. Hello, thank you very much for your time. Could you start off by explaining what the link is between increased poverty and child marriage?
Thank you. We know from evidence, and we've been looking at this for many, many years, that in families where you are poorer and when you have an economic crisis, you see much more of child marriages. And this is also an increased risk in a humanitarian conflict and a humanitarian setting. And it is for many reasons. One of the reasons is that you might not be able to provide for your children, so marry away a child might be a way to cope as a family. It might also be perceived as a safer alternative for the child than to be part of the family. So there's a lot of different elements. I think one thing that has to be mentioned is that school and having access to education is critical. And if you see more poverty, more children are forced out of school to be able to support their families. And school is a safe place for girls and children in general. And the more you have children out of school, the greater the risk we see for child marriages.
There's 2.5 million more girls potentially at risk of child marriage. How did you come up with that figure and the other figures in your report?
We've been looking at statistics provided by the World Bank and where we see how the correlation between poverty and child marriages look. So we have taken the estimates by the World Bank and looked at the estimated economic impact of the Covid-19 crisis and how we think that will impact child marriages moving forward.
Are there any parts of the world that you're particularly concerned about?
Absolutely. We see that the greatest risk for increased child marriages are in South Asia, followed by West and Central Africa. So these are the parts of the world where we see the most of the risk. We also know that if we look at the 10 countries most affected by child marriages, 9 of them are countries that have a conflict situation or vulnerable countries. So there's a huge risk coming in the coming years for increased child marriages and also child pregnancies as a part of it. And we know that child pregnancies and childbirth is one of the reasons, the main reason why girls between 15 and 19 die. So this is a serious situation for girls all around the world, and particularly in South Asia and West and Central Africa.
So what would you like to see governments and the international community do about this serious situation at a time when they're obviously dealing with the economic repercussions of a pandemic? Are you drawing attention to this particular issue? How can we do something about it?
I think what is critical is for world leaders to realize that the impact of COVID are coming now. We often talk about the long-term impact, but the impact we see now, today, and children, especially girls, are impacted as we speak. I think we have had a lot of very good progress in the last years. If we look 25 years back, we estimate that we have managed to prevent almost 80 million child marriages. That's 6 marriages a minute. So we have been able, as a community, global community, to prevent it before. We know that it can be done. So we need to focus on doing what we know works. And that includes listening to girls, understand their needs and priorities. It's about investing in girls, and particularly in their education, the health service, including sexual and reproductive health rights, and protection from violence. So it's about funding programs and making sure that we have the right legal structures in place. And if we do have the right laws, to make sure that they are implemented.
I'm sorry, we've run out of time. Thank you very much, though, for your time and for the work that you do, Inga Asching from Save the Children. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned.